Hey cats, it's your boy EDDBUD here. Today an initial look at a trail shoe from those wizards over at INOV-8. Say hi to the TRAILFLY ULTRA G300 Max. A serious trail shoe, this one aimed at long distance mile mashing. The G300 are some of its stats maximised in comparison to its cousin, the G270. They've cranked it up Spinal Tap style to 11. A 30mm heel stack, 24 in the forefoot, making for a 6mm drop on this one. And there's some serious lugs on the outsole. I mean, you gotta be careful. Gotta be careful, you better watch out. 35 lugs to be precise, and I'm just going to check that. I'm going to count them all. Yep, 35. So this one weighs in my UK size 11.5 at 400 grams. So a tad heavier than the G270, but it's understandable with that additional cushion underfoot. I believe this is now available for pre-order from INOV-8 themselves, but full release is April the 8th, 2021. 170 UK Earth credits for this one. If you convert it, is 190 US Earth credits. So how did this one shape up over my initial miles? Let's get there. Just to let you know guys, this is a shoe that's been sent to me by INOV-8 for the purpose of review, but I'm not being paid to make this video, nor will INOV-8 be vetting my video before I release it to you, my viewers. So I took the G300 out for 2 initial runs, totaling 13 miles, so 21 kilometers. Some varied terrain there, some road, some concrete, grass, gravel, even some bogs. Woodland trails, lots of squirrels out there, and lots of tree roots. I'll get to that later. If you're wondering why they're so clean after all of that, they were encased in mud, and I've had to clean them up to make them presentable for you, my viewing public. Upper first. Upper-wise, a lovely wide fit, but it doesn't lack in the lockdown. Very similar upper to the G270, but a little bit more forgiving. It's a tad wider. Some really great coarse laces in there that sort of grip the eyelets, and enough length for the regulation runner's knot. The tongue is thin, same as the G270, but no issues there. It's got it where it counts. I had no issues there. The top of the laces kind of pressuring my metatarsal bones. That can often be a thing, but not today or the day before. Reinforcement in the toe box here, even in the milder weather, didn't make for a too warm ride. My feet certainly weren't sweating too much, that's for sure. Did try it out on the initial run in some thicker socks, and then today in some thinner ones, and no real issues. The feet feel great actually. The mesh kept the mud out but allowed some air in there to ventilate my foot. It's quite a nice equilibrium actually, this shoe, between like a racer type feel but still with some comfort and cushion there. Minimised in certain areas to scale things back, but enough there to provide a bit of shielding and protection for the foot. I've got to say I've worn lots of road shoes where the upper isn't anywhere near as comfortable as the G300. On the more boggy areas of today's run, the upper proved to be stable and consistent enough to provide some protection without it being too restrictive, I suppose, and I had little issues at all with the stability of the shoe on foot. I've got a regular width foot, and I did appreciate the fact I could wear a slightly thicker sock. That's probably something you would do if you were going to utilise this shoe in its intended use case. I think most ultra runners would probably go for something a little thicker. I did find the G270 I needed to use a slightly thinner sock, so I do like the option. I have to say the double layering in the toe guard did save me on 2 occasions already. One from a rebellious rock, and secondly from a bullying branch. Yeah, I would have taken a bit of a hit on that one. All in all, quite a robust upper. I think if anything, I'd perhaps like it not quite so wide. And I did find once water got into the shoe, there was only one place it was going to escape, and that was through the toe box here. But no major deal breakers there. For upper, I'm going to give this a 2.8 out of 3 after my initial runs.
Midsole now.
And there's quite a lot of midsole here. The welcoming boomerang insole did make me feel approximately 40% more welcome. First run in these, I got up about 6 AM and got out there, slate grey skies, but placing my foot into the shoe, it was like I was back in bed again. Cushion here is easily on par with the G270 midsole, but with a great deal more depth. There's a lot of cushion here. A new foam type to devour here, in the form of the graphene enhanced G-Fly. During their testing, INOV-8 found this one to be far more resilient in terms of wear and also gave about 25% more energy return than previous foams. And of course the insoles themselves can be replaced when they wear out a little bit, so it's good. I like that from a sustainability point of view. Certainly more cushioning here than the G270, though I think I perhaps preferred the nimble nature of that one. Being a more slight runner, I think. If you're anything but a slight runner, I think there's gallons of cushion there and you'll very much appreciate it. Of course, intended use cases for vast numbers of miles and kilometres, and I think perhaps the Ed at 20 or 25 miles or something would actually prefer the midsole here. Yeah, we all feel great, don't we, you know, at 12, 13 miles or whatever, but it's what happens after that. Despite some uneven, undulating and surprise-filled terrain, the legs feel Lazarus-like on the following hours and days, thus showing some of the comfort and cushioned qualities of the G300 midsole here. As a tall and unbalanced gentleman, I mean in terms of I fall over and quite clumsy really, trails are always a little bit more testing with a higher centre of gravity, and the shoe proved to be a worthy component against the terrain and provided a really stable underfoot feel. There wasn't a moment where I thought I was going to topple over today. It was just enjoyable miles. Again, there's little here to bring the midsole score down, perhaps aside from the obvious increase in weight, still lower than the Ultra Boost 21 though. So I'm going to give this a 2.7 out of 3 for midsole after my initial runs. Outsole. I'll tell you what, as outsoles go, this one really smells good, guys. I tell you, the whole shoe just smells incredible. Like, that's a ridiculous thing, you know, people aren't going to buy the shoe because it smells good, but it really does. A real triumph of a midsole here, despite the lug frequency and depth. I mean, there's a lot of rubber. Gravel flew up behind me on those dusty, rock-filled areas, and the soft mud proved no match for the graphene-enhanced rubber. A little mud did get caught up in the adapter flex groove here, but that soon vacated the premises when I reached some harder surfaces. INOV-8 seem to have got the spacing of the lugs just right here to stop stones, twigs and debris from sticking around too long. Obviously that's going to further weigh down the shoe, you don't want things hanging around there for any length of time. I love the dimples on the lugs. Look at those dimples. They really do work very well on the harder surfaces. I mean, even on concrete, it just feels so great. The grip is really there. And despite making a beeline for any mud or standing water, I had an experience which is best summed up by the Radiohead song, No Surprises. A smooth and armoured ride, which is heavily built, but does what it says on the tin. Again, from my initial efforts, I found very little issue here. I think more water hazards would have generally improved the debris shredding capabilities of the shoe. I mean, it is quite dry here, certainly by March standards anyway. I think maybe even too much outsole for some. If that is the case, the G270 is probably a better bet. Certainly not a casual trail shoe by any accounts. So I'm going to give this a 2.7 out of 3 for outsole. Value now. So I think value-wise, this shoe arrives pretty much at the right time. Light appearing at the end of the tunnel in terms of the troubles that the world has seen over the last year, and it's finally looking like at some point in the near future that races will return. That means that people will be calling upon the G300 for those ultra races. I think if you're doing some sort of long distance trail type event, it's got to be one to consider. Fitting and forgiving are two key words here. Build quality is very good, and this is certainly a shoe for the long haul in terms of durability and use case. Not a shoe perhaps for the more casual efforts, but many runners, certainly in my hometown, love those muddy races, hilly and perhaps more fluid terrains. As such, it's quite a big departure from the more road to trail shoe that is the G270. I think at 170 it's worth it if you need more cushion and you'll be covering a variety of different terrains. This one will just eat it up. Quite a niche offering though. As such, I'm going to give this a 2.4 out of 3 after my initial runs for value. So if I've totaled the scores up correctly, that should give us a 10.6 out of 12 after my initial runs for the TRAILFLY Ultra G300 Max. There's not once I actually thought to myself I'm wearing a Max cushion shoe here. Just bear that in mind. A quick musical interlude for you. Again, I've been listening to Neil Young, this time with his band the International Harvesters. From the album called A Treasure, there's an absolute winner of a track right at the end of the album called Grey Riders. This has got everything that I love about Neil Young. Kind of chugging, distorted guitar, this sort of country type feel, there's some pedal steel in there. Neil Young's voice is really ragged and rough. on the electric guitar solos are just awesome. They reach these crescendos when he's doing the sort of post-chorus parts, I suppose, and they just go up higher and higher with all this echo and distortion and reverb. It's just fantastic. I've no idea what the song's about. Grey riders going across my lawn or something. It's very strange. Maybe Neil Young and the old boys have been having a little bit too much fun and been drinking some ale or something. The rest of the album's great, but this one just really finishes it off, and it's quite different to the other tracks on the album as well. This one's more like a Crazy Horse style tune. There's some really awesome piano parts as well on the second verse. Do go and check it out, guys. Grey Riders from the album A Treasure by Neil Young and the International Harvesters. Right, it's time for me to rock and roll out of here and get a bit of rest. Actually, I'm exhausted. Thanks for sticking with me to the very end of the video today, guys. I very much appreciate it. If you haven't done so already, please hit that subscribe button and click the bell below for notifications when we launch the new videos. It really helps to spread us around the web as well. If you give this video a thumbs up like and share this video with your running buddies. My name's EDDBUD and I'll be seeing you